Episode of ReputedirtyG and Digglesauce here, giving you the hottest hot takes there are. Unfortunately, we're not in Dubai tonight, but we have a slightly abbreviated hot take version here for you due to there's been 3 fights in 7 days, and so we're trying to put these together as fast as we can, but it takes a little time, and we're struggling. So
just blame the pandemic like everybody else.
COVID. Thank you for this abbreviated session. So we're going to go a little bit faster than normal. We also have some nice art that was put together for us. So it'll be on the YouTube video and also the Facebook coming up. So have a look at that. We're going to be slowly more professional against our will as it goes.
Yeah, I'm even wearing a bit of a collar here today. So cheeky setup. Let's get right into it, though. I like our top to bottom thing that we've been doing.
Yeah,
gotten good feedback on that.
Begin top from bottom.
A little, what's it called? Did you want to review it all, the last card, and just give any thoughts on how you won our Tim Elliott red snapper bet? I give you the floor, sir.
Yeah, can you also put a photo of the fish bet on Facebook?
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
So we bet a red snapper on he was convinced Ryan Benoit was going to knock out Tim Elliott, and I was convinced.
No. I was convinced Ryan Benoit or however, it doesn't matter how you say his name, because he couldn't finish his knee bar. But I almost got that call. But I'll give you the floor, sir, because you ate delicious red snapper on my dime.
You can check back to only 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, whenever the midweek fight was. And you can see there was probably the longest fight coverage out of the entire card was the Elliott-Benoit fight. And it was largely due to our disagreement about Tim Elliott succeeding in his 4th try against Fate. And it came down to betting a giant red snapper. And we'll upload the photo to Facebook. Take a look. It was delicious, and I didn't pay for it. Thank you, Tim Elliott. I lost 3 times horribly, but the 4th worked out. The hot takes also, there's a card up there. We had a couple of cards that went 5 of 6 through our small group here. One and the 2 that missed was Molly McCann, and one guy had Iggy with the other 5 connected. So that was all great. Is essentially the Molly McCann or Taylor Santos. If you swap those, it would have been optimal, and I think it would have jumped the GPP. It would have been higher than everything else. So check that out on Facebook. It's under R&D MMA, Fantasy MMA and Bets. Moving on with our continued speed here. Tell me why I don't want Joseph Benavidez in the main event tomorrow.
I just think simply when it comes down to Joey B, Team Alpha Male, dater of Megan O'Leary, shout out Megan O'Leary. Listen, Joe B has been around for a long time. He's got a lot of miles on the tires. And I just think when it comes to this fight in particular, well, Joe has never, I don't believe he's ever been a champion at this weight class, because he's always kind of been held down by Demetrius Johnson, Henry Cejudo, and now Figueiredo, who missed weight in their first fight, but which is interesting, because if he misses weight in this fight, which I believe they just had the weigh-in and it's all good.
Yeah.
But they said that Pantoja was going to fight, so would have been probably a loss either way for Mr. Benavidez, who, is a pretty slick scrambler, likes to throw and exchange in the pocket. My problem with Joey B is that, he just doesn't have enough power at this stage of the game, and I don't think he can hurt Figueiredo. And when you watch their first fight, which was really entertaining for however long it lasted, he just couldn't really hurt him. I mean, it just and Figueiredo started to realize that and just walk through shots, and Figueiredo's got a ton of power at this weight class. He is a real dangerous grappler. The only guy that's ever out grappled him was Juicy Backpack, and that was still a very competitive fight. I think that Figueiredo is rightfully a 2-1 favorite. I'd probably bet him up to 3-1, just because at this weight class, I think that he's going to be a handful, and I don't think Joe B is going to give him the fight that you would need to upset him. So Figueiredo's my pick. I'm probably all in on him in Draftkings. I guess Benavidez could drag this fight into deep waters and maybe win 4th or 5th round, but I mean, I just don't see it. I just can't see it, guys.
Also, Benavidez was dressed like a baby boomer with his sport coat and blue shirt on, or whatever he was wearing at the face-off. He looks like he's checked out, and what you said was totally right. It looked like when he was hitting Figueiredo in the first matchup, it didn't hurt Figueiredo. But when Figueiredo hit Benavidez was feeling it. And also the headbutt, which you'll see on all these commercials, and it says Benavidez is mad now, which if you didn't know, he's mad. He's very mad about this illegal blow.
Mad.
And but the funniest part is there's one clip I saw on later, and Figueiredo's sitting there and he goes, "He hit me." It's like he closed his eyes and slammed his head into me. He headbutted me. So he's very mad about an illegal blow that he committed himself against Figueiredo and then got knocked out afterwards. So,
well, as our good friend Ryan McCroby would say, he's getting mad and we're getting rich.
So Figueiredo, I like 100%. I probably play him in all the lineups, but I might mix him up depending on what I decide to do with favorites. I might have one or two that doesn't have them, but that's purely just for like spreading it out. Because I think, maybe not everyone's on him. There could be a lot of people that are on Joseph Benavidez and are on his tail.
So our job here is to help people and and help people from a betting standpoint. And what I like to do in situations like these where I'm super confident in a guy is listen, if you make 150 DraftKings lineups, you probably don't need to listen to our advice anyways. We're here for the people that are probably, they're trying to, turn their $15 into $100K. And, like Benavidez is just, I just don't see it, man. I'm going to die on that hill. And, but from a parlay standpoint, like you can end all your parlays with Figueiredo and then hedge a bet on Benavidez because he'll be at dog odds at the end. So, that's a good strategy too, and you can live bet Benavidez too. Like if you like Benavidez, you don't have to bet him right away because Figueiredo is going to look good in the first round, no matter what you think is going to happen. Even if you think Benavidez is going to win this fight, I think Figueiredo is going to look really good in the first round and the first two rounds regardless. So if you want to take a stab at Benavidez, like a live bet is in play, or maybe like a lineup or two with Benavidez, but I just, like I said, I don't see it. And if you're betting real American dollars on this event, you probably don't want them on Benavidez.
Good. Okay, let's move on to potentially the next fish bet. What, and did you upload that to Facebook or will you at some point today?
The fish. You're really on the fish.
We need it because this could be the next fish bet.
This is not a fish bet. I've come around on this next fight, and I will not be betting fish on this.
Okay.
Gastelum and Hermanson. Gastelum has been kind of one of these guys that has had ups and downs in his career. He's always looked really good against some older opponents. He is known as like a boxer that has really good takedown defense, pure wrestler, like no real jiu-jitsu. Just really wants to stand up, get in the pocket, and bang. And what's deceptive about his striking is that, number one, he's a southpaw, and he's got a really good left hand. And number two, for a shorter, stockier guy, he actually has like kind of long arms. So
he does. He has like unusually long reach.
Yeah, he kind of reaches people and throws off their timing a little bit. When I watched the fight with Darren Till, I thought Till had a very boring but perfect game plan to really neutralize Gastelum. He was either all the way out or all the way in. He didn't want to stand in the pocket with him, so he would crash into the clinch and just kind of use his clinch work to wear Gastelum out and kind of just and then pot shot him from the outside.
Till also needed a win at that point, and I think he was playing it conservative too.
Yeah, and honestly, like that was a very close fight. He won a split decision. It wasn't an entertaining fight, and if you gave the fight to Gastelum, like whatever, like it just wasn't. There wasn't that many moments in the fight. Obviously, Kelvin Gastelum's claim to fame is his war and fight of the year with Adesanya last year, which was absolutely one of the better fights we've ever seen. But obviously, the things that continued to plague Gastelum throughout his career came back kind of to haunt him. And that is his problems, with volume. Like guys just can kind of overwhelm him at times, and his other loss that he's had in his career was to Chris Weidman, who just really outgrappled him. So now we get to a point with Hermansson, who a little bit taller. He doesn't have any power on the feet that can hurt Gastelum, because Gastelum is known for having good chin, and he really does have a great chin. But in my opinion, after reviewing a lot of Hermansson, this guy's probably one of the better top game guys, since it's like Luke Rockhold at this division. Like if he gets on top of you, you're in like deep shit. So I think that Gastelum is just, he's pretty much drawing at sucking Hermansson into a brawl and catching him with a left hand. And that's kind of like his way to win.
I think he's going to have a few takedown attempts of his own. I'm not sure how half-hearted they may or may not be. But I think that Hermansson, he has multiple ways to win. His preferred way is to get on top and submit somebody on the ground. But I think that he throws a much higher volume. And you see it in some of his fights where with his stand-up, it might not be crazy powerful, but he's throwing a lot of volume, and it looks good for scorecards. And it looks good for DraftKings, too, I think. So if it goes 3 rounds and it's standing the whole time, you got to expect that Hermansson's going to outstrike Gastelum by some, like, factor of 2, 3, 4. I mean, it'll be a significant difference.
If Hermansson doesn't, because Hermansson, like if he throws naked kicks and doesn't set up his strikes very well, he's going to get knocked out, because he's gotten, hit. He's hittable. If Hermansson pressures well, uses a lot of combinations, and again, either all the way in or all the way out versus Gastelum, he can probably get Gastelum to the floor, because also Hermansson's takedowns are not really super American wrestling-y.
No,
they are more trips, yes, and throws, and that kind of stuff. Gastelum, I feel like may not have as good of a base against, but that's just conjecture, because we haven't seen a lot of non-traditional wrestlers like get Gastelum down. So we just have to see here. I think that the value is certainly on Hermansson, though, because if he does get Gastelum down, I think, Gastelum is going to get beat on quite a bit, and Hermansson's
serious on the ground. Like his
ground and pound is among the best in MMA right now. So
like he's trying to put a hole through the mat. I mean, he looks good.
Yeah, and he controls well. I mean, I think the value is on Hermansson, but I mean, honestly, like Gastelum, again, there's a KO factor there. So
I also think
Hermansson's got to be careful, but we're always going to probably side on the guy that, if his only way to lose is like getting KO'd with a left hand, like he'll know that too. He's not a dumb fighter. So I think that this is Hermansson's fight to lose, really.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think it'll score decently, especially if there's a finish, But I like Hermansson as well, and I'm fading Gastelum a little bit, but I think that the UFC has a vested interest in Hermansson because he's like a UK-based fighter, and they like having these guys.
I think he's Swedish.
Is he Swedish? I always thought he's from London, I think, though, isn't he now?
No, he's from Sweden.
Maybe I'm totally off on this, but either way, they like having these guys who are from Europe because there's not a ton of them.
Sure.
There's tons of Brazilians and Americans that people know. There's not that many guys from like certain parts of Europe or Asia, Africa. So, anyways, let's move on. Mark Diakisi and Rafael Fiziev.
Yeah, Fiziev, Tiger Muay Thai guy. Watched a lot more tape on him as well. It's interesting training out of the same. He's actually a coach at Tiger Muay Thai, which is Piotr Jan's camp as well. Fights almost in a similar Muay Thai type style, which is heavy pressure, using footwork to back people against the cage and really start to turn up the pressure as the fight goes on, but does an excellent job pressuring with footwork and cutting off the cage and things like that, like non-traditional pressure, like not just like really just throwing punches. Like he's able to pressure with his footworks and his setups and things like that. So really a good really a good striker. I mean, this guy's pretty high level dude. Now, when it comes to Diakese, Diakese, I've saw, improvements in his last fights. I mean, he's improving. He's utilizing calf kicks. He's gone back to train at his old gym, and it seems like, leaving ATT and leaving the American gym to go back to the London gym has actually worked out well for him. But we have to assume this fight's going to be contested on the feet as a kickboxing type contest. And I think that that Fiziev is going to pressure Diakese going backwards. And, Fiziev, my only concern is that when you look at the athleticism levels, that Diakese might be a step above Fiziev. But it's hard.
He's a freak athlete. He can do things most people can't do.
It's hard to tell over the course of a 3-round fight if that's going to manifest itself through the whole fight in moments. Can Fiziev, Fiziev can take a shot. Fiziev seems like the good bet. It's like Fiziev is a good bet to me, I think.
So I just watched the weigh-ins too, or the face-off a few minutes ago, and Diakese looks like way bigger. I mean, like significantly taller and just huge compared to Fiziev.
Right.
And I think that this might be a little bit of a setup to have him get a knockout or a TKO.
It could be, because Fiziev is going to stand there and bang with him. So,
and he doesn't really go for takedowns.
And Fiziev's defense isn't very good. I mean, he's hittable. He wants to stand and brawl. And I mean, the calf kick setups could really start to play a role. I mean, if he could kick the shit out of Fiziev's calves and really compromise him. I mean, this is a tough one to call. I see your point though. The size matters.
From the
athleticism matters.
It's not like an inch or two. It's like you look at it and you're like, this guy is huge. Like it's like fighting your little brother.
And he's made so many improvements. And I mean, the other thing we have to assume is that, like, okay, he's beaten and looked really good against Joseph Duffy and Lando Venata. And, we probably hate Venata. But there are a lot of people that respect Venata's game quite a bit. And,
at least he has a game.
Is Fiziev, better than those guys? And that's kind of, the question.
It's hard to say, but I think we both. Well, I think you're kind of in between. Like Fiziev might be an underdog play. For me, I'm like very, very like. I'm not going to play Fiziev except maybe one lineup as an underdog. I really think it's going to be Diakese by some kind of a finish.
Good play. Yeah, when I initially looked at this, that was my first reaction. And I mean, it's a tough. I think it's going to be a good fight. This is going to be one of the better fights in the card. But you're probably right that Diakese. I mean, he's definitely the rightful favorite. But
watch the face-off too. When you see how big he looks, you're going to be like, this dude's going to smash.
And that's my concern with Fiziev is the athleticism might make these guys look like they're not on the same level.
Yeah, like a couple of spinning back kicks to the head or something. It looks real different.
Yeah. So we can get to Violence Queen Lipski versus Carolina. So
tell me everything about this one.
Lipski, Muay Thai champion of the world and all this, but hasn't really manifested itself in MMA. I mean, she looks stiff, like lost to Calderwood, lost to McCann, beat Padua, but looked a little better. But the thing is she also I don't know. Like the organization she's fought in previously, pretty well known for the old PEDs, and she just looks like a different fighter in the UFC. And when it comes to Carolina, I mean, I think Carolina is, she can take a shot, that's for sure. I mean, she fought Cachoeira and she just walked through like so many significant strikes. I mean, so many strikes, and just kept coming and kept throwing kept throwing her own stuff. This could be a good fight for DraftKings from a standpoint of higher volume. I've got Carolina in this fight. I think that they want Lipski to win, but she just hasn't really performed in the UFC, and I don't know if she's got what it takes.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated because I missed the the $10,000 pool on Wednesday because Molly McCann lost to Leah Santos, who looked bad in her previous fight. So I look at this and I'm like, there's not a lot of data. There's 4 fights between 2 women in the UFC. 2 of them are losses, 2 of them are wins. In the wins, they don't score that well for Lipski, and for Lua it does. So I'm kind of the mindset. It's like, I'm not betting on it. I think it's going to be close. I would rather take the underdog with some upside. I don't think there's going to be an early finish unless it's from the underdog.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I think it's a close fight. Like, you can take a little bit of, if you want to sprinkle a little bit of Lipski in there, a little bit. I would treat it as a 50-50 though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Carolina kind of stands up, right? And Lipski is going to definitely hit her with the straight punches. But like, as Lipski advances, I think Carolina does show like really good tie clinch, really good, knees up the middle. She's a southpaw, so that might confuse Lipski. Not confuse her, but I mean, just give her a little bit of different looks. So, I mean, listen, again, I agree with your take that you don't really want to bet on this, but
the volume from Carolina though is like 2-1 compared to what Lipski's done thus far in all 3 of her fights.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Carolina's decent play for sure. But again, betting on this is
in the interest of time.
Let's
say we have no secret sauce for this fight. We think of it as like a 50-50, and I think the underdog might be better in this case. But I'll play a little bit, but not much, and I'm not banking on anything crazy. But I do think that if one of them scores well, it's probably Luna Carolina.
Fair enough. Let's go on to Askar Askarov versus I think this is one of our boys, actually, Pantoja, right? I mean, can he be classified as one of our boys? Because he's one of my boys, and I'm certainly going to be betting a small fortune on him.
So, yeah, he can be one of the boys, I guess. He can be part of the club. There's nothing to say. Like, he's basically Figuerido's like #1 lieutenant. Like, they fought. They had a great fight. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. And it was really entertaining. And then Figueiredo wins. He like slowly takes over and controls the fight and wins. There's nothing bad about Pantoja. He's just not Figueiredo today. So he scores really well, and all of his wins are like over 100, 125 points. He does really, really well. Askar Askarov had a competitive matchup with Tim Elliott, who you just lost the fish on. We got to think, if you have a competitive matchup with Elliott, Figueiredo just stopped Pantoja in his tracks, right? And Figueiredo also stopped Elliott even faster. Like, Pantoja and Figueiredo had a pretty competitive fight.
Very close, actually.
Figueiredo smashes Elliott. Elliott has a competitive fight with Askarov. How do we balance these things? And there's no hole in Pantoja's game, so there's no like exploitable thing that you can say like, oh, he sucks at wrestling or he's a bad striker.
Yeah,
he's gonna smash Askarov. He's gonna smash Askarov.
Yeah, we both agree on that. I think we don't even have to hot take that one.
There's a reason why he's on here too. Pantoja was going to fight if one of the guys didn't make weight today, right? Mm-hmm. So they consider him championship caliber, like right now. They don't consider Askarov to be championship caliber.
Yep.
Not even close.
No.
So
I think this is a feed matchup.
Yeah, I think they're feeding Pantoja also. But, I mean, look for him to smoke Askarov and do it in bloody, spectacular fashion.
Yep. So we can bet. I actually think we can comfortably bet Pantoja and parlays. We can comfortably put him in on DraftKings, and we can actually, in my opinion, you can even bet on him inside the distance. There's some value there too. So, in on that, let's go to.
Tell me, Kadis Ibragimov and Roman Dolidze.
Oh my God! So Ibragimov is like fade material. Very bad, not very good anywhere. Bad gas tank, wide looping punches. I think Dolidze steps in and just smashes this dude. Dolidze is a little bit of a savage. He had a USADA suspension, so there's some concern that he might not be as bricked up as he was before. But I think that from what we have to go on, which is the footage and like the rumor mill, right? Like we can't really go on anything more than the information we have, and the information we have tells us that Roman Dolidze should just walk right through this dude and smash him.
So I actually think it's going to go the opposite way.
Interesting.
So I look at it like I feel the same way. You look at this guy's picture and you're like, he looks like the Incredible Hulk, right? But he doesn't at the weigh-ins, and he did get hit with USADA, and he's 32 years old now. He has 6 fights ever, not in like Bellator, Risen, One, anything like that. All WWFC World Warrior fighting. He has not really. One time he went 3 rounds and KO'd again in the 3rd round. Every other fight's been 1 to 2 rounds. I think there's a good chance that he gets in there and he has to hang out and feel some punches coming back to him, and it's going to become more of like a decision win for Caddies.
Yeah, my only concern is that Caddies has shown so much like he gasses hard, and I mean, if you lost to Ed Herman, like you will never see one dime from me on a betting card ever.
Yeah, so I'm saying this strictly as like a underdog play in DraftKings. I think that there's a chance he can score. He can land 85 punches or whatever, and score like 80, 85 points. You know, maybe more. Maybe Dolidze gets tired and he TKOs him or something. Right? Like he crumples. I think it's possible. The guy has like, I know. I'm just saying. There's no evidence.
I can't condone that play at all.
Also, it's okay, but you can say, like, if you watch Dolidze's striking on, like, the underground MMA core and stuff, it's not good. It's not clean boxing. It's just, like, him heaving punches at people. And I think that as he goes up in caliber, it's going to get worse and worse. And he's not knocking people out cold. He's not like Ngannou. A lot of these are, like, crumpled TKOs.
So can we fish bet this one?
Sure, I'll take the fish bet.
Oh, you're gonna take the fish bet on. You're giving a little value, which I appreciate, but I'll take Dolidze and you can take Ibragimov.
But do you think Dolidze is gonna win in the 1st round or 2nd round? Like, what do you think is gonna happen?
I think he's gonna just beat this guy pretty easily. Yeah, probably in one of the first couple rounds.
So my only concern here is if we look at our boy Caddies. He has a much, much better pedigree, even if you don't like what he's done. Like, he's fought in M1 4 times, he's never lost outside the UFC. I think this fight's going to be close. Like, not in a great way for scoring, unless Dolidze just takes his head off. But I think it's going to be close. Because you got Caddies here who's basically won every fight he ever had against similar quality. See what I'm saying?
Know.
I'm just saying.
This could
be one where you're like, I've got Dolidze at every lineup. He's a monster. He should be taking heads. And then you're like, why is he on the ground? Like, I could see him. He could get tired. Like, something's gonna happen. He's not on juice, and he's it's 136,000 degrees in Abu Dhabi. I think that you got to like slowly roll on this guy a little bit and be like, we don't actually know anything about him.
Right,
terrible technique.
So
he's only low-level guys.
This is more of a 1-800 gambling play that I'm just completely fading Ibragimov. Just because, like, while there isn't a lot of footage of Dolidze, I just think that like this is like if Ibragimov gets like stopped here, he's out of the UFC forever probably.
Which is fine, totally fine. But I think there's a good chance that they've given him an opponent who is not as good as Da Un Jung or Ed Herman. And that this guy's going to come in and blow his tank in like a minute, 2 minutes, and then be tired and start getting picked apart. No juice in his veins, remember. I don't know what else he's snorting or eating or injecting, but like, there's no juice.
No juice. The no juice play.
Man has left the building.
The fish bet has been taken.
Fish. I wish I could do like a fish with my finger somehow. I don't know how.
Yeah.
But anyways, I will have some Ibragimov Caddies guy as an underdog mixed in because I think there's a good chance that this is going to become like an 80-point decision for him.
Okay.
Which could be optimal on the slop fest that is now coming on the prelims.
Yeah. Okay, so we're different on this one. I'll take Delize, who trains and gets his steroids from John Jones. So even though he got popped with USADA, he's probably just still on them because he has the dirt on John Jones, and he'll spill if they actually bust him for real.
He knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, they can't let that out. He's got it in a Wayfair cabinet somewhere.
Sex trafficking workers.
So Nad Narimani, the Smiler versus Grant Dawson. This is funny because I think this is a fight to obviously feed Grant Dawson. They really want Grant Dawson. I mean, Grant Dawson looks pretty good. He hasn't fought anybody really very good at all, but he's kind of smashing dudes. So I think that Narimani could make this a competitive fight. And I think Dawson's going to win, but I think this is not going to be like Dawson just walking through Narimani. I think Narimani's going to give him a real fight. Narimani doesn't have the physical tools to be able to, I think, beat Grant Dawson, but he certainly has the game to make it a competitive fight, which is a pretty good stand-up. And he's fought big, huge guys before. Taha is huge, right? And he beat Taha. So, I mean, it's like he's fought a lot of guys. He's been in championship fights in other organizations. He's like a real gamer, and I just don't think Dawson's going to walk through him like the betting line suggests. Yeah, I think he's going to win, but I think this is
betting line's crazy, actually.
Yeah, I think this is like a real tough. This is a tough fight for Grant Dawson. I
watched all the tape before looking at the odds, and I a little bit from looking at DraftKings, but I wasn't trying to look at it. And I think it's actually like a 50-50 because I don't think maybe Dawson has like a slight edge. Maybe it's like a 60-40, but I'm fading it as a whole because I think that there's more chance than not that these two are going to be on the cage hugging each other for 3 minutes at a time, and there's not going to be a whole lot of work getting done. And I think the final score is going to be 64 points for whoever wins it.
64.
And it's based on anti-grappling from both of them. They both have the ability to defend. And low out.
This fight, this may make us look stupid that we don't have Grant Dawson in all of our DraftKings lineups and we get burned by it, but I'm okay with that. I don't know if I necessarily want to take too many shots on Narimani, but I just think that this is, like you said, going to be a competitive fight with stall situations because of Narimani's anti-grappling. I don't think he's going to be in super bad spots from Grant Dawson.
I think they're both going to learn how to box a little bit tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But that's my play. I'm fading the whole thing.
That's probably fair. I might take one shot on Narimani somewhere, after a few Cabernets. Let's go to Joe Duffy and Joel
Your
Alvarez.
Boy, the biggest favorite on the card, Joseph Duffy.
Duffman.
He looks like a scarecrow at the weigh-ins.
Can't breathe. Oh no. So Duffy has been an MMA hardcore fan guy forever because what he was the next great Irish hope after Conor McGregor came up. It was like a Cage Warriors dude that's just smashing people, really educated stand-up, good boxing. And when he came into the UFC, he really did well, but got derailed by Poirier's wrestling, got KO'd by Vic, and then lost the decision to Diakisi. But when it comes down to it, Joseph Duffy is pretty good. He's a pretty good fighter. He's got good hands, really good hand speed. And, his problem has always been, at least I think, this is the rumor, is that outside the octagon, he's had motivation issues. He's had, he's talked about retirement a couple times. So where his head's at, we don't know. But when it comes to pure skills, Joseph Duffy is on a way different level than the guys fighting Joel Alvarez. And I mean, that's just fact. If Joseph Duffy loses here, he probably never fights again.
Yeah. So I'm going to play some Joel Alvarez at 6,900. And the reason is because when Diakisi beats Duffy, Duffy's got some problems. One, he's a really tall, skinny guy. and he's got very low output. Like, he's not a ground and pound guy. He will try to take you down once in a while, but he basically wants to win like a strike, like a hit and don't get hit kind of exchange. And he'll let like 30 seconds go in between strikes. He's not a volume guy. He's not a ground and pound guy. He doesn't have a lot of good ways to score. So if you look at his scores,
we're talking DraftKings and betting here?
DraftKings scores. DraftKings scores. He scored 108 points 5 years ago against Clark when he submitted him in the first round. I don't remember that fight, but that was 5 years ago. Since then, we see him. He wins against Mac Daddy or Madadi or whoever this guy is. 3-round decision, 51 strikes landed. That's real low. That's super low. James Vick blasted him in the head. He went out. Diakisi, he lost. He only landed 15 strikes on Diakisi.
Mm-hmm.
3-round decision. That's bad. I don't think the numbers are going up. I think, if anything, it's going to be in this low range here, of 15 to 50. But I also think that the guy he's fighting has one advantage. He's way younger. He has no mileage on him. He's actually slightly bigger than Joe Duffy, if you can believe it or not. He's like a little bit taller. He's like too stupid to not know it's a strike with him. And he throws some kicks and stuff. If they go to the ground, though, this guy wants to sub people. Like, he wants to be on his back with you in his guard so he can sub you. And I think with how lanky Joe Duffy is, getting an arm or something is going to be a lot easier than it is against like a Figuerido or one of these compact little bullmen. So I think that there is certainly a way that my man, what is it, Alvarez here? Joel Alvarez. I think there's definitely a way he can win. And I'm going to take him. And I might do 5 favorites in Joel Alvarez and just stick that in a few times.
Good luck. I think that Joel's fight style is not really conducive to winning in MMA. He basically has never won a round. He's never won a round in MMA and UFC. He was losing to Biardo and then was able to sweep him and submit him. Or actually it was like ground and pound or something, but it was kind of a weird finish. He like trapped his arm somehow. And I just think
that's what this guy is known for, though. Like, his amateur, it's submission.
But his amateur fights were in Spain, and they were like submissions from his back. Like, I don't have any confidence in Joel Alvarez. I commend you for the hot take of fading Joe Duffy, and God bless you, sir.
From a straight scoring point of view,
I can't. I can't get behind that.
It's fine, but Joel Alvarez has never been. At one time, he was knocked out in M1 in 2015. Besides that, he's won like almost every one of his 16 fights by submission. So I think that Joe Duffy is going to have a little bit of trouble. Regardless of the quality, if you win 15 fights by submission, you won 15 fights by submission. Joe Duffy, if he knocks him down, if he takes him down, if he even gets him up against the cage, he might get subbed. Like, I don't think that this is a safe fight for Duffy. And Joel Alvarez is still young and can improve. He's 27 years old.
What he has to do is really improve his stand-up. His stand-up doesn't look very good. He does throw naked kicks and stuff like that, which I don't like. It's just, to me, it's his style is just absolute, like, I watch it and my eyes bleed because it's like the absolute opposite of what you want to win fights. And that's why he's never won a round in the UFC. So, I don't think he can win a decision at all. So he has to win it. He has to win by Hail Mary submission. And that's very similar to like a Paul Craig style fighter, which
I don't think
he has wins, but it's just,
I think it's going to sub Duffy.
Again, it's just one of those things where it's like, you're betting on that, and at this odds, I guess it's it's fair to take a shot, almost 3-1. But
Joe Duffy shouldn't be a 9,400 though. That's insane.
It's hard to not. When I watch, what I see is that Duffy should be able to really. This guy's going to take a lot of damage. Alvarez is going to take
maybe, but Duffy doesn't throw a lot. He doesn't throw a lot.
Yeah, when you say he's not throwing a lot, against Diakisi, who's really explosive striker, you got to be pretty careful. You got to pick your spots a little bit. Against Poirier, he was really getting wrestled. Like, Poirier had like a strangely very wrestling heavy game plan. And he got KO'd by Vic. So
yeah,
I
which
mean,
that can happen, but
so I don't know.
I'm fading Joe Duffy as a whole. I don't think he's going to score well, and I think there's a chance that Alvarez subs him. Like, I'm not going to put Alvarez in every lineup, but I think there's enough ways that he can win, even just on output. Like,
Yeah,
if he can throw 20 strikes per round, he could win the fight.
I'm okay with fading Joe Duffy in like a Draftkings format, because there are other good plays up there that I like, but I just think that that I can't really. Oh man, Joel Alvarez. That's
you heard it here first. The Cadiz Ibrahimov and what the heck
Big
is
parlay
his name? Joel Alvarez is going to be the winning dogs on Saturday night.
Okay, let's move on to Montel Jackson and Brett Johns. Montel Jackson, man, really athletic dude, good wrestler, very good wrestler. Striking is improving, but still a little bit behind. It's likely to be you're going to have a really fun grappling matchup between Brett Johns and Montel Jackson, because Brett Johns is like a really slick grappler. Now, the only thing is he's going to be way undersized in this fight, which is going to be hard for him. And essentially, he's going to have to outwork Montel Jackson to get him tired, to eventually find a way to overcome him in like the second or third round, because I feel like Montel's length, and if he makes any improvements in the striking game, this is a really tough fight for Brett Johns. But listen, man, Brett Johns is a gamer. He's going to fight for your money, and he's going to be constantly working to try to find a finish on the ground, or, take a back or something like that. I mean, Montel, for being a wrestler, I mean, this is a really, this is a test for him, I think. Brett Johns is no joke, man. Brett Johns is a good fighter. And, he's not a great striker, but really, really.
In his last fight, though, he was striking like crazy against.
Yeah, but he's just to me. Yeah, he's just very underrated as a grappler. I think he's a really slick grappler, and I think that Montel is going to have to be honest P's and Q's and control him and not take too many chances, because if you try to. If Montel Jackson is too opportunistic here, he can find himself in some really bad spots. So I think I'm okay with a bet on Brett Johns, or an underdog type play on Brett Johns. Again, do I think Montel wins this fight? Probably, but I'll be definitely having some lineups with Brett Johns, just based on his his opportunistic grappling, ability to find a finish and possibly score some points.
So Montel Jackson to me on paper looks like he should win. I think Brett Johns is more of like a brawler, and he wants to get in there and mix it up. I don't think that's a good style against Montel, because he's way bigger. He can lay on you if you shoot on him. And Montel actually controls range like pretty well with guys coming into box and then counters them. I think the only way Brett Johns wins is basically Molly McCann's strategy. Like, you have to get in there, hit, don't get hit, get out. And I don't think that he's that type of fighter. I think he wants to get hit a little bit and get in there and fight, which probably isn't a good idea against this guy. The question is, though, is he going to finish Brett Johns? I don't think so. I think it's probably a decision. So Brett Johns also, the volume is the problem these guys all have. I don't think that he gets finished. I'm looking at his career here. I don't think he's ever been finished. But I see that he doesn't always land a lot of strikes. I think it's going to be probably kind of a one-side street for Montel. I don't think Montel's going to be optimal either. Like, Montel Jackson's 9,100. He's only scored more than that one time against Caleres when he had 11 takedowns. And they were like up against the cage, and he just basically leaned over and then go down again.
Can I say something about his competition? Montel Jackson submitted Kelleher, which was his only, I think, legitimate win, because Sukumtov and Caleres are, I don't even think they're in the UFC anymore. They're some of the worst fighters in the UFC.
No, Caleres is. He just won. Caleres looked better. He had one terrible showing, and then he looked better. Oh, and maybe that was the terrible showing.
Yeah, but Ricky Simone Ricky Simone's a little beast, so that's not a bad loss. But
and that's early in the career.
Like Montel Jackson is really getting pumped here pretty highly, and touted pretty highly. So I'm gonna look at the current odds really quick.
I think it's going to be hard for Johns to get inside though and land a large enough number of strikes.
The other thing too is this is another one of these opportunities for a live bet, like really a good opportunity, because if you see Montel starting to fade and like as we get into the second round, Brett Johns can overwhelm him, you know, from just like a gas tank perspective. I think Brett Johns has got a pretty good tank. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of action coming in on Montel. I think probably based on his size and athleticism and just.
Yeah. I don't think there's any value here though. Like I don't like Jackson on the ultimate lineup for 9,100. There's better guys like in the same range. And I don't think that Johns has enough to like. I don't think he can finish Jackson unless he somehow out grapples him and really tires him out. I just don't think it's likely.
Fair enough.
I'll tell you where Brett Johns could be a great play though is in a cash game, because he's probably not going to get finished and he's probably going to score a lot of points as a dog. So like if you just need a floor guy, that could be a good play.
Yeah, interesting. That I can get behind that. Amir Albazi versus Malcolm X, which is a great nickname, Malcolm X Gordon. So right now we have Albazi as a big favorite, even though he's taken this fight really on short notice. Malcolm Gordon has been preparing. Malcolm Gordon,
his whole life. His whole life he's been preparing.
Malcolm Gordon is a little bit interesting here to me. I like Malcolm Gordon. I think he's got some serious like sniper like shots on the outside. He's got some good straight punches. He's got some power. And I think Albazi, you know, neither one of these guys seem like they really like to get hit all that much. But Albazi doesn't seem as like a very dangerous striker to me. I wonder if, you know, Albazi is going to come in. I don't know what kind of shape or what kind of gas tank he's going to have, kind of taking the fight on really short notice. I like Gordon here. I lost you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're muted. I can't hear you at all. Technical difficulties, people. Can you try to plug your headset in?
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, you're back on. Wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I don't know what that was. I just plugged the thing in. But okay, so here's the thing: is Gordon's from a smaller organization, TKO. I think it's another it's a very very small group. The guys he's fought and beat are not good. They haven't gone on to do anything, and also his fights are incredibly slop fest. He almost got beat down by this guy who's about 3 feet tall, Yoni Sherbatov. In the first round, he just was pummeled him. He just came at him and lit him up, and the guy just covers up and fell over sideways, and then he gets a rear naked choke and wins. He also, in the fight before that, I think it was against Mancini, he was basically just they're striking, he's getting outstruck. I forgot how they got to the ground, but Mancini lays in his guard with his hands like this, like he's just here, take him. Do whatever you want with them. And so he did. He took one, and then he threw an armbar, turned it into a triangle, and they just flopped around for minutes before he was able to get the sub. It wasn't I got you, you're done. It was literal minutes of them just trying to stand up, like pull out, do all this stuff. I don't think this guy's good. I think he has one way to win. I think he can only win in small organizations by referee stoppage KOs or by subbing someone who is in a bad position and doesn't know what they're doing. The guy he's fighting, Amir Albazi, looks about 10 times more fit and also polished. Like, he actually has a stance. He actually gets in the pocket and throws and then leaves. Like, he has like a fighting style. Malcolm Gordon looks like a dude you'd see on a Friday night in a bar, just spinning around wildly, who knows how to get a choke off. I think it's totally likely that Albazi beats this guy. Problem again with this guy though is, from everything I watched, like, it's mostly striking based. I don't know if he's going to be able to score enough points to make it worth your time. Like, there's no stats for him because it's a debut for him too, I think. But I saw all these fights, like, there's no counter on the screen, but he didn't score more than 100 strikes, I would say. I mean, and that's probably what you need if you're not getting takedowns. You have to be north of 100. That's not the case. This will probably be like, if he wins it, he's probably going to score around 85 points, like, best case. So, that being said, I like Gordon as a possible dog purely for the first round submission chance, but I don't really like him in real life.
I think that you could see hit him like he can like stun him and then get off like a front choke or some kind of choke and finish his fight. I think Albazi
Gordon doesn't know how to do a front choke. It's a rear naked and triangle only.
I don't know. I just I think that Albazi is a pretty big favorite here for what it is, and I think there's some value on Gordon.
It's a double debut. Like, there should really be almost no value because it's hard to manage, like, who these guys are, where they're coming from, the level of competition, scoring.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think that Gordon had a lot more notice and seems to be a little bit bigger. So
he did look bigger, yeah.
And I think he throws straight, like, accurate, hard punches. Like, he's got a good right hand. So I think that's going to give Albazi problems, and that's kind of how I see this fight going.
So the other thing too, I'll tell you though, I looked into this one a little bit extra. My note here was that Albazi was going to take over in the later rounds, but the other thing was Malcolm Gordon was originally, I think, scheduled to fight someone else. And I think it was somebody who got pulled out, and then Albazi came in at the last minute. So you got to think too, what was the original matchup supposed to be like? Was Gordon being fed to someone, or what's happening? Is he a prospect? Like, he's probably a low-level feeder.
Yeah, I mean, I think with any of these guys at this weight class, they're just looking to see someone emerge, right? So taking two new guys and seeing what can happen. But I think
Albazi wins low scoring, and Gordon could get an upset win. That could be interesting for scoring in DraftKings. But if I had to bet real dollars, I would just take Albazi if I had to take one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the real dollars are certainly going to be on Malcolm Gordon, and I think he's going to win by finish. You heard it here first.
Well, it won't matter because I've already got the Alvarez Ibrahimov play in, so we're all set there.
So we could do like a cool little parlay here. I'll take Gordon and Dolidze, and you can take Ibrahimov and Albazi, and we'll see who makes more money. Maybe
Albazi.
Maybe we'll make none.
Wait, Albazi? Oh no. No. This I don't have time for this. Okay, this is an expedited edition. We're almost at an hour. We got to wrap this thing up. I can't be thinking about crazy parlays. We got two more here. Davi Ramos, Arman Sarukian.
I can't believe this is the number 11 fight. Why is this the number 11? Like, this is like one of the prelim fights. What is going on here?
The general public doesn't understand how grappling works, and they think it's boring.
This is going to be one of the best grappling fights we've seen in a while.
It'll be as good as either one of these guys against Islam Makhachev, probably.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be cool. I'm excited for this fight. Sarukian is like a really, really up and coming prospect because of his insane wrestling style, like good pace. Really a little beast, man. He's a little beast on the ground.
He's as good as Islam Makhachev, except he's like a frame smaller than Makhachev, and that was, I think, the only difference in the whole fight.
Yeah, well, Makhachev's super long, right? Makhachev's super long, and
it's just like a little bit smaller than him.
Yeah, and Makhachev fought a great fight against Davi Ramos too, because against Ramos, he was able to kind of pot shot him, stay on the outside. Ramos flashed him though in that fight. He almost knocked him out, and Ramos has some power. Ramos is a little beast too.
That's the thing. I think we agree on this one. Sarukian, this fight should be like minus 110 for both guys. Like, no one knows what's going to happen in this fight.
Well, what we do know is that Sarukian has shown really good wrestling in the UFC, right? He's shown good wrestling, but wrestling,
terrible scoring too.
More defense against Makhachev. No, we're just strictly talking about the fight here before we get into the scoring aspect of it. Ramos is an ADCC world champion jiu-jitsu player. I mean, there are levels to this game, and we're talking at the highest level. Ramos is a champion. And Ramos has some serious power too.
You want the wrestler or the jiu-jitsu champion?
I mean, Ramos wrestling isn't bad either. So what it comes down to is Sarukian going to be able to grind out Ramos, sap his energy, and tire him out to control him and win a decision here? Because I don't think he can get a finish. Ramos is not going to tap to anything Sarukian does. Like, I don't think so. Like, you'll have to break an arm or choke him unconscious, because I don't think he's going to tap to anything. Right? If you're an ADCC world champion, you're not tapping.
Especially when they tell him this is like the best guy in Russia or whatever.
Yeah,
he's going to say okay.
Yeah, he's not tapping. So I think this fight could be largely contested on the feet. And while Sarukian probably has the ability in terms of gas tank, to throw a bit more volume and mix up his strikes a little bit more, Ramos is super dangerous. And Ramos could certainly put him out or, flash him and then sub him. I'm probably taking Ramos here, pretty heavily. This is pretty good value on Ramos, and this may really come back to bite me, and Sarukian may be the truth, but I don't see how we can bet against Ramos here at that number.
So the way I look at it is very similar, except I think that this fight, if they grapple, I think it's going to largely nullify itself and nothing will happen. But I think if there's a finish to be had in this fight, it's Ramos. Whether it's by TKO due to tiredness, or if it's just a straight up rear naked choke, or maybe it's something exotic. Maybe he throws an electric chair up there and just triple taps Sarukian. Anything could happen. But I think Ramos has more ways to finish the fight, and that's the difference between these heavy wrestlers and a guy who's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, Ramos scored.
I think also meaner. I think he'll hit harder and be mean.
This is weird because they didn't give Ramos a knockdown in the Makhachev fight. He scored 4 fantasy points in that fight, but in a 3-round decision loss.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be possible, right?
It's not great. But so I mean, it's gonna have to be Sarukian really controls Ramos for a victory, and grind him super grind job. But I think Ramos will start to roll and do some weird stuff and get himself out of bad spots. And I don't know, man.
Just so you know,
Ramos here.
When Islam Makhachev fought Sarukian scored 12 points in that matchup. But when he went on to fight OAM, who's another just a terrible sack out of Canada, he scored 64 in a 3-round win. And, it's he just doesn't score well.
Yeah, OAM had some success in the striking in that fight too. OAM hit him with some body kicks, and clearly Sarukian didn't like it. Hit him with some hard stuff that
This is total dogger pass, man. Dogger pass. And honestly, I think like if Surikin can't score more than that on OAM, like you're not paying minus 200 for this guy.
I agree. Interesting fight though. I'm gonna enjoy watching it.
The most interesting fight on the card though, the final one, and we got to wrap this bad boy up, ladies and gentlemen.
This might take a while to dissect. We have to dissect Instagram videos of Carlos Felipe running up hills, hitting mitts, getting cage.
Let me lay the groundwork for this one, and then
we'll
tie it together.
Getting controlled on the fence by women. Carlos Felipe busted by USADA. I mean, I guess
is there some kind of a supplement, something in it all? And he said he never took it.
He needs some supplements because he looks like he could lose a few pounds.
He's a heavyweight who's probably like really got the frame of like a middleweight, but he's got this enormous barrel chest on him, and it's like a Tai Tuivasa but worse. Like. It's just he's got a weird frame, and like he shouldn't fight at heavyweight. He's way too heavy, like from fat. I mean, he's not fit. He looks kind of like baby diaper guy Albini, like but worse than that even because he's shorter and bigger in the belly.
Yeah,
he's been and hasn't fought in 2 years. In the fights he has, it looks bad. He only throws strikes. He likes to throw like a weird like shovel uppercut, and then ranges with it to like reach out. It almost like it looks, I don't know, it just looks terrible. But I don't know why they got this guy. Maybe they just need somebody to die in there 3 times and then fire him. But they gave him the Spivak, and that's basically all we have about Carlos Felipe. Is nothing positive. It's like he only can throw. Well, all right. What's your positive?
Well, he has Instagram videos and he hits the mitts pretty fast. So hand speed, maybe. No power though.
Okay, speed, possible speed,
possible
Spivak,
hand, possible.
So Sergey Spivak, who I was thinking when I was driving to my house today, was that we've been duly judgmental of his house fighting of WWE retiree stars in the mansion in Russia. However, he seems to be training and getting better, and I think he's in America now, too. Mm-hmm. He's bigger than Carlos Felipe, height-wise, frame-wise. I think he's not stupid, and I think he can jab. I've seen him jab. I've seen him throw jabs and some kicks. And I think that there's a good chance that he starts taking Carlos Felipe to the ground and tires him out down there, because this guy's enormous. Like, when he has to get up, it's going to be tiring to get up every time. Mm-hmm. And I think that Spivak, even though I don't think Spivak is like a great heavyweight, can control the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's interesting is that Spivak is kind of small-ish for a heavyweight, but has shown a pretty good gas tank in there. Doesn't have any real power in his hands. I think Tybura just kind of laid on him and wore him out. But Harris just sparked him, right? So
yeah, debut.
But he took some good shots against Tuivasa, and was able to take down Tuivasa like 6 times and just absolutely dominate him on the ground. And is this Felipe guy going to be better than Tuivasa on the ground? Like, I think if Spivak gets him down once, like the fight's probably pretty close to over, because at that point, Felipe is going to get worn out, and I think Spivak's cardio is just gonna be too much for him.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Felipe can't have cardio. He
can't.
Like,
I've seen him. All he has is Instagram videos running up hills and like being fat. Like, it's not good.
Okay, so I mean, this is more of a fade on Felipe. Now, if Felipe comes in there and he Walt Harris's Spivak, that's something to take note of. And then, probably there's a couple of fights like that where like Grant Dawson goes off or Felipe goes off. You're probably hosed for the night. But there is nothing in the dredges of the internet to tell you this is the guy. Mm-hmm. It looks bad. Everything I look at looks bad.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, even his fashion looks bad. I mean, everything about this guy looks bad.
Fashion takes, hot takes.
Fashion take wasn't good.
Fashion takes. So let's get, before we sign off for the boys and the gals out there, let's get like your hottest fire take. Who do you need in your lineup to win a DraftKings tournament?
So real fast.
Outside of Figuerido and Benavidez, because everybody knows that. But like, you need one guy. Who do you need?
So it's going to be, you're going to have to pick a dog. And the only dogs that I think have like tremendous upside could be like a Ramos, could be a Joel Alvarez. I think Ibrahimov could win a decision. The lady fight is a possibility. That for sure is a possibility. Malcolm Gordon could sub. I think that's less likely, but I think you're more on him. Brett Johns is like a reasonable cash floor game dog. Like those are someone in that range is going to be what you have to go deep.
Basically everybody on the card outside of Askarov.
I'm fading a few guys.
So our pick is Pantoja. You need Pantoja because we just named everybody else other than Pantoja.
I only named dogs, though. I only named dogs. You got to pick your own favorites, but you got to pick the dogs. If we just saved someone $100 because they were going to bet on Carlos Felipe, the heavyweight knockout artist, my job has been done here.
Yeah, and I'm trying to save people money from betting on Askarov, so don't do that.
There's another guy from Russia. His name's like Imarov. It must be like a trend to name your son like the first part of your last name just is now your first name.
Could be.
Hot
takes. But who are you going to be rooting for big on this card? Who's going to be like big? Like you're hoping to see a good performance.
The guys that I'm most interested in, I'm actually interested in Spivak because if he's going to be developmental and get better, he could be fun a year from now, 2 years from now. Pantoja is going to be great. That's going to be a smash. So I think the lady fight's going to be good. I think Diakisi is going to be the exciting one though, because that's the one where like he could really raise his stock quite a bit. And then the main event I think is just Smashville. So.
Yeah, I think those are all good takes. I'm going to be really interested actually in this Montel Jackson versus Brett Johns fight. If Montel Jackson like somehow can dominate this fight, I think that'll go a long way into having me like really look at him as like a really good fighter.
Also, Joe Duffy's going to retire after this, I think.
Retirement.
Win, lose, or draw. Yeah, I mean, did Paige Van Zandt retire yet? Have we gotten a note from her?
She's going to Bellator.
Well, they'll probably just give her a bunch of fish over there so she can look good. But
my retirement call is that Ibrahimov gets booted out of the UFC after he gets KO'd, and I win.
All right. Well, if he scores 86 points in a decision as an optimal,
I owe you fish.
Join that fish.
All right.
Upload the fish picks. We got to go.
Like and subscribe.
Thanks.